Social Dig and a special show we're going to do here tonight. This one is going to be an exposed edition, and I'll explain to you a little bit here how this is going to go. Sure, let me make sure everything is set up the right way. All right, so we are here today, and I appreciate you guys joining us here. Going to kind of delve into some of the news that's been going on lately. Obviously, everybody knows what's going on out there in the world. Politically, we're going to leave the politics out of this because I think there's definitely a more important way to be looking at this whole situation here. Very sad, very sickening thing going on right now when we talk about individuals out there in the world that would put themselves in a position to take advantage of the children of the world, right? I have kids, grandkids. I'm sure everybody else does. And I would sure hate for, anyone's kids, your kids, anyone's kids to be in the situation that these children have found themselves in, and the helpless souls out there, right? The ones who can't fight for themselves. So we're gonna fight for them here tonight, right? Not a very popular thing to do when you talk about public relations and people out there that may feel some kind of way because they're politically tied to certain individuals in the conversation. It's not about that at all. Not about that at all. As we talked about, we did a show on this already. And as we talked about, it doesn't matter who the name is. And there's going to be many names. Names, there's going to be many names, right? So there's obviously the person that we're focusing on here tonight, which is the current president, Donald Trump. There could be Clintons in there, right? In these Epstein files. There could be a long list of people you would never even think were on this list. And guess what? If they had something to do with exploiting children, then hey, it is what it is. You kind of got to just talk about it. And as I said before, it's not really a popular thing to do, right? To step out there. But this channel is the Social Dig, where we focus on things that affect humanity. And this is obviously a crime against humanity, so it has to be covered. And this is what we're going to do here today. We're just going to talk about something that I see some people focusing on, but I definitely want to make sure that we touch on some stuff here. Let me jump back in the chat and say hi to anyone who is here. Hopefully, you guys are all hearing me here. Kitty Catty Whack, thanks for coming on in. Flat Six, see you out there. Miss Catherine Jones, Deb from Sacramento, Mel WD40, getting everybody lubed up and ready to jump into the conversation. Let's see who else we have out here. Just scrolling here. The Jaquetta. Hey, the Jaquetta. Thanks for coming on in. Let's see. Philip Blair. Philip Blair, thanks for coming on in here. We appreciate you. Operation Shutdown, thanks for coming on in. Talking about looking forward to the show. I am too, right? And it's tough conversations, right? It's tough. Tough. But we got to have them. We got to have them. Let's see. T-Bone, appreciate you coming on in. Yeah. All this stuff, Deb, from SAC, and it's sickening, and it's sad. And if we have an opportunity to crack the code here, I think it's everyone's duty to do so. And I see a lot of people keeping this in the news and not letting this die, and they shouldn't. Because when we think about the worst crimes that you could commit on this planet Earth, this is that. This is that. There are other things equally as evil when we talk about crimes that you could commit, but this is right there. This is the evilest, right? And so if we have a chance to know who the perpetrators are, then we should probably find out, right? I how could you see yourself going forward in a world where we had a chance to call these players out and we didn't? Could you go forward comfortably with the status quo, the way things have been, just going back to the normal without resolving this issue here? This is one of those things. It's right. It's and that's why you see so many people put their political differences aside and demand answers on this. And I think it's very right to do so. I know there are people out there, and me included, who want to see these Epstein files. We want to know who's in there. And there's a lot of people saying, well, do we know Trump is in those files? Do we really know? Well, I think we know that his name is listed in there. Can we say he did anything that he wasn't supposed to do? It's if you watch the last show we did on this, we kind of looked at the call list. We talked about some of the names that were shown that showed up in the first release that they did back in February, and I think we could all agree. We came to a conclusion that everyone's fair game here. Anyone on this list is fair game, even if it's your favorite star, if it's your favorite movie star. It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. And you know, one thing that you can do, just even right now on the face of it, with the names that you do know, you could literally take each name, and we talked about this on the last show. Do a little bit of research to see what outside of quote unquote Epstein files, what do these people do in their other life, right? Have they ever been convicted of SA? Have they ever been accused of SA on any level at any point in time? I think these are all clues that would tell you to look further into that individual as potentially a perpetrator in the actual Epstein files. And I think, Donald Trump, I think not just because he's Donald Trump, but anyone who is like this, who has this, you know, mindset to where they don't understand that uh, interacting with children underage is a wrong thing. Then they walk around the world with this whole other idea. And they because they don't realize themselves that what they're doing is wrong. And that's how you know it's a sickness. And there's been many times where Donald Trump has exhibited that. Just no morals or understanding of it that it may be inappropriate to do such a thing or say such a thing on a national stage. And I think that has bit him in the butt, because you know not only do we want the Epstein files to come out, but there's a plenty of Trump files laying out here. So it's the Epstein files and the Trump files, because the Trump files are most of them are all out there in the public, and they don't look good. They don't look good. As you saw in the thumbnail, it I don't know how you felt about that, right? When I created that thumbnail, I'm like, would a person understand why I put that image there on the thumbnail? Do you see something wrong with what was displayed on the thumbnail? And I'm gonna go ahead and get in so we can bring some of this stuff up here. Let me bring the slides up. All right, so obviously we'll talk about this stuff at the end of the show, but I want to get to the thumbnail. All right, this is the thumbnail. Does anyone see anything wrong here? Let me bring it up full screen. I can see a few things wrong here. Like, even if I didn't know anything else, if I had only heard or it just if I'm a person walking in, we'll just say with no prior knowledge of what was going on here, and I saw this, I would feel really strange about this image and why you are grabbing onto your child in that fashion. That's troubling to me. A 45-year-old man in 1991, Trump was 45. Let's get that clear. Trump was not, when he's dancing around in these videos with Epstein and looking at he's not 25. He's not 30. He, as if that would make a difference, but he was actually closer to 50 years old. Now, let's look at the video that everybody knows here, because I think this is how we can start it off. Let's see, that's that one. All right. Well, you know the video where Trump and Epstein, they're at the party. They're looking at all these girls on the dance floor. They go to dance with the girls, and they're whispering and saying all these things to each other. Trump was about 50 years old in that video. A lot of these accusations happen. We're talking about a 50-year-old man, and most of these accusations. So starting from 91, where he was 45 years old, going forwards, just getting older every single year, which makes it even more sicker and sicker and sicker if you think about it, right? So if he's engaged in these activities, as has been reported, taking these flights to this Epstein Island, he's doing this at 50 years old. That's definitely what you call a predator. So let me go ahead and start it off like this, because I thought I had the actual Trump video set up, but I don't. We're gonna go down why you shouldn't even need the Epstein files to kind of understand what's going on here. I'm gonna take you back to testimony. Actually, let me do this. I'm gonna play this because I thought this was troubling. This was 1992. There were some kids over at Trump Tower. You may have seen this video already. These kids were on a field trip, I would imagine, and Trump has some sort of interaction with these kids. Listen to this.
And I'm ready.
In the wake of questions and allegations about Donald Trump's behavior towards women, ET discovered this footage in our archive, which we provided to CBS News.
Soon. Thursday night. You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it? Okay.
So he said, he told the little kid, and let me actually bring this up here. Okay, I thought I had the image. I don't have the image. So yeah, he told these kids had to be like 7 years old. It looks like they were about 7, 8 years old, 9 years old, maybe. I don't know. But he's gonna mention to a kid that he'll be dating that kid in 10 years. Make me understand how that is okay to say. In what world is it okay to say something like that? Let me know in the chat here if you have any. I mean, there is no world, right? There should be no world where, even as a joke, what type of joke is that, right? When you tell that's being oblivious, right? Being oblivious to the fact of what you're saying is something that is morally improper or incorrect to say. But you say it because you don't see anything wrong with it, right? That lets you know that you're dealing with potentially someone with a problem. They can sit around and make even if they want to in the end say, "Oh, I was just joking." Either way, whether you were serious and you said that, sick, and whether you were joking when you said it or not, still sick, because it shows that you have no ability to understand right from wrong, or what should be said, which is a problem, right? Especially when we're talking about kids. So I thought that was something that really got to me. That was something that really got to me, right? And the whole reason why I'm doing this show is not necessarily to go over the politics of it, or all of the missing footage or any of that stuff. All that stuff is out there. There was just an angle, right? I'm looking at this photograph of him grabbing on his daughter at 9 years old, right? And it just made me sick. And we obviously know he's made statements about his daughter over time. So it started getting me to ask the question, I wonder how Ivanka feels about this, right? I wonder how his daughter feels about this. Having a father that makes statements about you like that. You got video, you got photographs, and I'm going to show you one right here. Actually, I'm going to show you a couple photographs here. So this is obviously the ridiculously gross photo. And this is why I feel that it's gross. Why would you be grabbing on your child in that fashion? Doesn't make sense. Why is your daughter at 9 years old dressed up like a grown lady? What? This is in public. So imagine what happens at home. What happens at home? And this wouldn't be anything to kind of make Ivanka feel some kind of way, but I wish if something happened to her, I would hope she would say something about it. Victims, we all support the victims, and shoot, you're a victim, you should step out. You got a lot of support out here, a lot of people out here that would immediately support, you know, anything that you may have to say here. And we're in a situation where obviously her father's the president of the United States. At the end of the day, she probably doesn't want to see anything go wrong, or to happen to him, right? You know how that feeling is. But at the end of the day, how many of us have had? And I can't say that I've actually had any pedophiles in my family, but I'm sure some people have, or you've known someone that's been accused of that or convicted of that. They have a website out there, a registry, sexual offender registry out there that people have to register for. So you can go to a website right now and find out who's in your area. Would you go on that same website and try to make friends with the individuals that are listed on that site? Would those be people you would step to and invite over for dinner, saying, "Hey, let's throw a party. Let's have some dinner guests. Let's get people from this registry." Who would do that? Nobody. So how could anyone sit back in this moment and not want to find out who has been abusing the children? And kind of stepping back for a second, it lets you know what kind of sick world we live in, because there are a group of individuals out there that are literally trying to stop the files from coming out. You have to have zero morals to allow the to allow some friendship that you have to kind of supersede protecting the children, or some party that you identify with supersedes protecting the children, or someone that you're indebted to, allowing any of those things to supersede protecting the children. And it's you would never think, you would hope that something like this wasn't ever going on in the backgrounds, But because it's been brought to light and we've had someone that's been convicted behind it, and there's been rumored to be other people attached to, faces and names as far as people who participated in this. What type of person would you have to be to hide that? Could you go forward and put trust in the system anymore? Which we never really trusted to begin with, right? Just being real. But could you go forward in life now if this somehow was allowed to be covered up? Could you continue and go forward and just do your daily dues without having this thing right here resolved? What does this mean? Implications obviously are some of the most important people in the world are on this list. They get found out. The stock markets crash. Everything goes to hell. I think we kind of have to do that then, right? I think that kind of has to happen. And here's the thing. Once all this gets resolved and we get what we need, we get the names, we get all this, we got to make sure to write down the names of the people that were standing behind this, the people that were on the front facing side of this, attempting to stop this from coming out. All those individuals, regardless what party lines they're what side of the line they're on, we need to write down names. These people have to be reelected. Why would you reelect somebody who stood in the way of protecting the children? Why would that happen? And that's just like congressmen, senators, all these little small individuals that are stepping in the middle of getting these answers. Anyone who comes across as a sympathizer for PDFs, their career should be done after this. There shouldn't the House Speaker, all these people saying, "Oh yeah, we'll come out, we'll do this," and then turn right around and then block the vote for the stuff to come out. Okay, your name's on the list then. Your name's on the do not vote list. And it should be a list for anyone who is attempting to kind of hold this back. Though, and you have to weed those people out. You can't keep those people in. It can't happen. Things have to change going forward. So this is one of the reasons why we're doing this here. And once again, this isn't a side thing, but I see a question here, Paramore. Democrats were in office for 4 years. If there was anything about Trump and those files, and Biden DOJ would have released it, if only to humiliate him. Likely, there's people from all sides on the list. So neither side is rushing to, and that's why it's not a side thing. Because it isn't about Democrats or Republicans. It just happens to be Republican right now that's tied directly to the list. But I'm sure there's Democrats in there as well. I'm sure there's all sorts of individuals. So they're all trying to hide. So any politician is trying to hide what's on that list. All of them. So it doesn't matter what side they're on. Take down the names and make sure that those people don't get back into office. Because if you'll hide something that's blatantly in our face, what you're definitely going to hide everything else. So there, if those individuals understood that there was the threat, that they would forever be marked as PDF sympathizers, morally they shouldn't get another vote going forward. And we have the ability to do that. So the reason why I'm bringing that up without going too far into it, but there is definitely going to be all sides involved here, but it's not. It's about what's right and what's wrong. So, You know, at the end of the day, I don't care who's on the list. It could be my favorite person in the world. It could be my relative. It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter. And I think that's how everybody feel, or most people feel right now, aside for those small group of sympathizers that still try to, you know, put politics over the kids. And this is where it has to end. And it's a crazy situation, right? Because normally we do UFOs and we talk disclosure and how important it is for other reasons and how it needs to happen now because of other reasons. And then we're in a moment where we have this going on and the world is watching. And it is something that also has to be resolved in this moment. And it's just wild how those two things are intersecting right now. But I think the consensus is at the end of the day that we have to shake this up. This one time that we have to figure out who these elites are that are out there taking advantage of children is sitting right in front of us. Oh, we need to know. We need to know. Yeah, Epstein died in 2019, and I think what it is that it's been and I guess we have to talk about politics, but it was being campaigned by the current administration that they were going to release the information in these files because America has a track record of hiding things and then allowing conspiracy theories to develop. And so this would be a modern day JFK, MLK, modern day cover up happening right in front of your face. And, you know, as bad as we want the JFK, MLK file, as bad as we want all that data released, why would you sit in current day and allow for a current day cover up to happen? If you see it happening now in the moment, why would you allow it to even turn into a cover up or to turn into, you know, something where it's conspiracy theories for the next 80, 100 years before they release the Epstein files in 2125, right? That's where this is going if we don't stay on top of it. So with that being said, this is sick. I mean, and truthfully, if Trump wasn't attached to this and I saw this, I would still feel weird about why you're doing this, but it could have just been caught in the moment. Just the moment shot just happened to be whatever. But being that we know there's other things going on, it just makes this picture, it just gives this picture much more, you know, it puts a lot more behind it. It puts a lot more behind it. This, and if you thought that was strange, if you thought that one was strange, like, oh, that could be a one-off. And what about this? What in the world is going on here? That is Donald Trump, Ivanka Trump. That is his daughter, ladies and gentlemen. That is his daughter. Let me zoom in. What are we doing here? Even if she's totally unaware of how this looks herself, this man is 50 years old plus in this picture here. He totally should understand what this looks like. He should understand what this looks like. And as a parent, it's your responsibility to do something in this situation. And this has nothing to do with the Epstein file. These are the Trump files. This is stuff that's just out there in the world, stuff that and it just paints a picture. It just paints a picture to where it's like you don't need, I mean, we need the Epstein file because we want to know everybody else involved. But if you're just talking about Trump in particular, you don't need the Epstein files to know that there's some questionable stuff going on out there. And when we did the and actually let's play these clips. I know you've seen these. Everybody's seen these. Let's look at this.
A little bit more about you guys. So we play this game here. It's called Fave 5. I'll ask the question. Ivanka, you answer first, and then Dad, you answer also.
This is tough.
Okay, Ivanka, what's the favorite thing you have in common with your father?
Either real estate or golf.
Donald, with your daughter?
Well, I was going to say sex, but I can't relate that.
What are we talking about here, guys? Is that okay? That's not okay to me. I don't feel okay with that. That's not okay. And then when you see go back now, you see this photo again, and it's like, okay, if you didn't feel some kind of way before, now you're looking back like, wow, okay, this is sick. And you see how nervous she felt looks, right? You got to imagine, like, she's not going to say it now in this moment because of what's going on. But you have to feel for the young lady because if this is how she had to grow up with having to take pictures like this, whose idea was it to do this? Who said, okay, now put your hand on his face like this? Okay, now put your hand right around her waist. Who said that this was a good idea to do this? Not a good look. Not a good look at all. I also want to play this other piece. This is the other one here. Obviously, we all know this one.
I would do that inside the magazine, although she does have a very nice figure. I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. You know.
Stop it. Oh, it's so weird. Stop
You know what? You are sick.
I know, isn't it terrible? No, how
Well, you're
terrible.
known for saying
Is that
outrageous
terrible?
things,
weird.
Mr.
Just like
Trump.
me. Who are you, Woody Allen?
Just ha 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 ha. Once again, going back to this man is saying this on a national stage and he thinks it's okay. He thinks it's okay. Regardless on if you thought you were telling a joke, you don't have the foresight or the filter to see that that's an inappropriate joke, that no one else would tell a joke like that. The only people that would tell jokes like that or who would partake in that sort of joking nature would be people that likely had other darker issues going on, right? So when you paint these pictures, then it doesn't really sound too far off, for this guy to be friends with the sexual predator, right? Because it would seem that you are a sexual deviant at the very least, and that you would go as far as to target your own daughter. And not only that, and I don't know why Michael Cohen isn't talking about this. Michael Cohen, Trump's previous attorney, the one that he had go to prison for a few years. There's a video where his daughter came out and said that Trump had made a comment about her as a young child, like 14 years old. I don't see Michael Cohen talking about this a lot, and I don't understand why. Maybe it hurts him so bad to even think about it. I can understand that. But she did an interview where she talks about how Donald Trump said something inappropriate to her at 14 years old. And these are people, these are like your kids and your this is your friend's daughter, your family. This is like friends, family. This is closest of the close. So if he's going to do that to his own children and children of friends that he knows, what's the likelihood that some random kid is going to matter to Donald Trump? It probably wouldn't. It probably wouldn't. And a lot of people were just catching this episode. We did a previous episode on this like 4 months ago, and it's in this playlist here, so you can go back and watch it because it kind of ties into what we're talking about now. But there's enough there to show someone that is focused on younger age children and willing to make comments about them in the public atmosphere without regard. If you heard someone talking like that was in your circle, you wouldn't let your kids around that person again. Your spidey senses go off, and it's like, well, no, something's wrong. Something's up with that guy. This is before we even get to the Epstein accusations, because now, which we didn't have in the first video, there was I think her name was Katie Johnson. She was one, we talked about her in the first video. She was one of Donald Trump's sexual assault accusers. She was apparently 13 or 14 years old at the time. This happened like in 1994. This is right in the middle of when Donald Trump is flying on these planes with Epstein, and who knows what he's doing, where he's going, what he's doing. But he did have an accuser that accused both him and Epstein. And this is her video right here. I hadn't seen this testimony until recently. I didn't know there was video testimony from her. But this is what she had to say. And then listen to what she says towards the end of this.
My free will. No, there was nothing promised to me for doing this interview.
Excellent.
Yes, everything that I say at this interview will be the truth. I met Donald Trump at some parties I attend that I was working for Mr. Jeffrey Epstein. There was about 3 or 4 times that I had encounters with Donald Trump. I was 13. The first time that I met Donald Trump was at a party at Jeffrey Epstein's mansion. There was an orgy going on, and he was kind of watching off in the distance. And he basically asked if I could come over and give him a hand job. And at first, I wasn't very comfortable with it. This was like my first party, and I didn't think that was my responsibility. But my recruiter told me that I needed to do it, so I agreed to. And then he, I began to. Sorry, this is a little difficult, but before I gave him a hand job, he kind of slapped my hand away and said, you need to use a glove. And the recruiter ran over and handed me a glove and said, no one touches Mr. Trump's penis without a glove. So I needed to use a glove. I gave him a hand job, and then immediately after, he had an orgasm, he left, and I didn't see him again at that party. Jeffrey Epstein is a billionaire friend of Donald Trump's that was responsible for throwing the sex parties. There was, I originally came to New York trying to be a model, and in my travels I met a girl named Tiffany there who was very interested in me and said that, you know, that's what she did, is that she helped girls, you know, get what they wanted, and she could help me get into modeling, that she knew a lot of people that were higher ups and that it would be no problem. And so that's why, you know, but I would just basically have to come model at a couple of events and meet some people. There would be no sweat. So, of course I went, you know, that sounded like no big deal. And she was recruiting the girls to come to these parties. And they all looked, I mean, most of them were, you know, my age. There was, you know, maybe a couple girls that were maybe 14 or 15, but it seemed to me like we were all very young, so.
Okay.
Jeffrey Epstein knew that I was 13 years old. When he interviewed me, he asked me to get down to my bra, just my panties, and I thought that was weird, but I mean, modeling, maybe it was something about my figure. And he asked that I give him a massage. So and then he asked me my age. He asked me, and I told him, you know, told him that I was 13. I told him why I was there. And he basically said, well, you'll do, you know, I'm sure that you'll fit pretty nicely here. And then he tried to basically slip himself inside of me, and I pushed him away, and I said, you know, because at that point in time I still believed that there was models and then there was the girls that did that. Like, I thought there was a separation. So you know, I told him that I wasn't interested in that, but he said that I would do. And as far as Donald Trump, he knew that I was 13, and I believe that Tiffany told him he seemed to take a liking to me because I was I was so young, and I was also a virgin. So I don't know. It seemed like he wasn't really into having girls that were liked by the other guys. He kind of, you know, the whole glove. He kind of liked things to be his first. You know, if that, for lack of, you know, a better term, but he was the one who wanted to get to a girl before everyone else did. Donald Trump knew that I was 13 because the first night that I was there, Tiffany actually suggested that, you know, she had a whole bunch of different wigs, and I expressed interest in them. You know, I always told her that I would love to walk around with blue hair. And so I tried some on, and there was a blonde wig that she said that looked great on me. So I wore that wig, and Donald Trump had specifically asked about me because I remind him of his daughter, and she said, well, she's 13 as well. So he knew the first time that he saw me, but he took a liking to me because I look like his daughter. And the reason I'm coming out now
corroborates it, that right there, which is sickening to hear. He acknowledged the fact that he compared her to his daughter. So when you hear her say that, and then you go back and you listen to the clips we played earlier where he's fawning over his daughter and saying all this stuff, then you kind of feel like he was not joking, that it wasn't a joke. If I was a gambling man, I would bet Ivanka has a story to tell. If I was a gambling man, I would almost bet everything that Ivanka has a story to tell. You're the same age. Wanted the blonde wig because said she looked like his daughter. What? All right, let's continue.
coming out now is when it happened originally, I just wanted to forget about the whole incident. And when I saw that he was running for president, I felt that it was my responsibility to come out and tell our country what kind of man this person is. I don't think that he should even be the dog catcher, let alone running the greatest country in the world. After I met Tiffany at the bus station, she took me to, basically went to her house, her apartment, and got ready. I put on a blonde wig because it seemed fun to pretend to be someone different, but we went to the party that I was basically interviewing for, and Jeffrey Epstein was the one that was running the party. He had a quick meeting with everyone that was employed there, and then he had a private interview with me. The first time that I met Jeffrey Epstein, he did try to force himself inside of me without getting the go-ahead or anything. And then it was probably about the third or fourth party is when he basically forced, it was another massage, and it was basically like, it wasn't sex, but there was penetration, and I told him that I didn't want that, but he kind of got a little irritated. So I don't know, there was something about him that I guess I kind of held him, I held a lot of resentment towards him. By that time that happened, I kind of already started catching on that maybe I wasn't there for modeling, and maybe I was just getting used for things, and I felt that kind of held him.
And that is sad. That is sick. That is sad. Because this would have been a test if she would have testified. Because what happened with her is she received death threats. She was doing this interview as she was preparing to come out and tell everything. She received death threats and decided to kind of take a step back. I'm hoping in this moment, there are more victims that are willing to be brave enough to step out and talk about this. Even Ivanka, if you are a victim, blink twice and let us know and step out and speak on behalf of the victims. If you know how your father is, there's been questionable things that we've seen him do involving you. So if there's a story there, I would, man, it's like, how do you get to those children, right? How do you get to them to say, hey, it's gonna be okay. You can come out and tell your story. You'll be okay. We'll make sure you're all right. Maybe it's something that she won't actually come out and talk about until after Trump passes. Once he passes away, then maybe this comes out for her. I have sympathy for her. She was a kid. She had no clue. And not only that, but the picture that you saw, he was setting her up to, she wanted to get into modeling. And so he was bringing her to events like that. And he ended up turning her over to one of his associates who actually also ended up being convicted for some sort of sexual trafficking, or not. He was accused. I think he passed away or something before having to face any charges. But they had a group. They had a group of individuals, which is Trump. God, I wish I had the guy's name in front of me. It was him, Epstein, a couple of other model agency guys, and they were like preying on young women. There was this story as well. I'm sure you've heard this recently, where Trump puts out a notification to models and agents, I guess, for a VIP party he was throwing, and it was supposed to be models from age ranges of 16 to 22. This is supposed to be some event set up to where they can mingle and get their big break, potentially meeting certain agents, and there was supposed to be, all sorts of individuals there. They get the girls there, and the only other person there with Trump is Epstein. right? It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. And if you think about how America is being looked at on the national stage right now, we're the laughing stock. We're the laughing stock for various other reasons. But if we fumble the ball on this one and allow potentially a person who had been involved in things that would be the worst things you could think of and still allow them to continue to run the country, what does that say about us? What does that say about us as the people? And we don't know who these executives are, these top tier elite individuals are, but they have to come down. Because if nothing happens behind this, they just move locations. They just move their operation to a different island, into a different curator of trafficking. So this is still early, right? There's going to be things that develop from this. Hope there. Supposedly, you have Jelaine Maxwell, who knows everything, who may be able to come into the frame and say, "So I'm really hoping that she wants to rewrite her own history and say, I need to do this because I now understand that what I was involved with was bad, and I don't want to be remembered in that way. I would like to be the one that came out and gave the names." I'm hoping that's the mindset that she ends up having. And it's like, I don't know. I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But I'll tell you what, this is sick. And it's just, these are things that we can point to without knowing what are actually in the Epstein files. We have enough here to say this guy is a creepy guy. We have enough here to say this guy was almost grooming his child, is what it seemed like on the outside. And let me know if I'm tripping, because I don't think I am. And it was a reason why I had to do the show. I know we normally focus on other topics, but this is the social dig, and social issues that affect humanity will be covered here. Will be covered here, right? Which is why we're doing what we're doing here right now tonight. I just want to make sure we lay something down. We already have another video on this, part one. This is part two. There will be a part three as more information comes out. I didn't want to touch on all the extra stuff that people are out there talking about, because you can hop on YouTube and see that at any moment. I just wanted to focus on the angle of Donald Trump and his own child, and how just that relationship right there should let you know that you would probably have friends that are into those same things, which takes you to that birthday letter that was released by the Wall Street Journal. That is definitely what they were talking about. There is no doubt. When you look at this and then you look at what Epstein was convicted of, you got to know, you got to see where the lines intersect. And you can tell that Trump is feeling some kind of way about this by the way he's trying to sow a lot of division right now, right? All his rebuttals have been tools to attempt to get both sides arguing again. It's like, no, don't come together. I need you guys to argue again. I need you guys to be on the separate side again. Nah, it's not gonna happen this time, bro. It's not gonna happen. We're not gonna let it. We're not gonna let it go. We're not gonna let it go. Hopefully, someone in the FBI or whoever's looking over these files is making sure that none of the information gets damaged. But even so, I'm really hoping that Jelaine Maxwell can come out on behalf of the victims and say, I want to do this for the victims. I'm sorry for what I did. I'm sorry for the part that I played in this. I want to make it up by stepping up and standing up for the victims and calling everybody out. This is something that could happen. It is very possible. Very, very possible. And let me see, what else do I have? This. Listen to this.
Ivanka,
By the way, your daughter.
she's beautiful.
Can I say this? A piece of ass.
Yeah.
You own this pageant. You go over. You're meeting the girls and stuff. One of them comes up to you and says, "Mr. Trump, you're a very sexy man.
You're a beautiful man. You have fantastic hair.
Well, you're a powerful man, right? Right? You're a powerful man.
Right.
I want to sleep with you." Now, you're not the type that would say no.
I don't want to hurt their feelings.
Right. No, but I mean, you see a beautiful woman. You want to have that. You're a guy who likes to have everything, right?
Well, couldn't that be construed, however, as
conflict?
Yes.
Well, I don't see it as a conflict.
It could be a conflict of interest, but it's the kind of thing you worry about later.
Oh, I see.
You tend to think about the conflict a little bit later on.
The question is, how can it not be construed?
No, I mean, some of these foreign girls, Mr. Trump, in my country, we say hello with vagina. And
well, you could also say, as the owner of the pageant, it's your obligation to do that.
So you have done that. Now, tell me
I'll tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else, and no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
you're like
everything
a
is
doctor.
good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible-looking women, and so I sort of get away with things like that.
What do you say about that? What do you say about that? He was 60 years old in that interview. 60 years old at the time, still doing pageants and bragging about how, because he's the owner of the pageant, he can walk back and see these young girls undressed. He said this out in the public. So you got the Epstein files, but you also have the Trump files. And the Trump files are scary. So you can just imagine what's in the Epstein files. You can just imagine. Take a look at this.
I'm ready.
In the wake of questions and allegations about Donald Trump's behavior towards women, ET discovered this footage in our archive, which we provided to CBS News.
Soon. Thursday night. You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it? Okay.
One that I wanted to play, it was, I might have these mixed up. Let me check something real quick here.
Ready.
In the wake of questions and allegations about Donald Trump's behavior towards women, ET discovered this footage in our archive, which we provided to CBS News.
Soon. Thursday night. You're going up the escalator? I'm going to...
The 58 contestants
All right, this is the one.
participated in an exhaustive round of personal interviews designed to help our judges discover what makes each one special.
Your 5'9" reading? Serious, huh? We measure again tonight before the
Trump has no expertise. Name one model.
The concentration
that
was
has gone
intense
on to
inside the judging room
superstardom or to become a supermodel, right? Name one.
Each girl was
Trump doesn't
considered
have
not
an
only
eye
for
for
her
that.
beauty and poise, but also for her
He just wanted to
personality.
be present.
And that
He just
indefinable
wanted to be
Something
present
extra that makes a top model.
under the auspice that he is this model management guy. That's not what the deal was. He wanted to sit there and look at young
Thank you very
ladies
much, Ingrid. Good luck for tonight.
Thank you.
barely
When it
with,
came
with
time
no
to
clothes
choose the
on at
21
all.
finalists, emotions ran high as each judge expressed his or her opinion.
How do you get away from that? Like how can you deny any of this at this point? And this is without even getting into any of the actual, the real sick stuff. This is just the surface stuff that he put out there in the public on his own. Like I said, this exposed thing is something we're going to be doing a lot more of. And it won't just be about Trump. The social dig exposed sort of thing is going to be for various things that have to do with humanity. Anything considered a crime against humanity, anything that needs to have an eyebrow raised, is going to be what we'll cover on something like this. Just right now, it happens to be Trump. It happens to be these Epstein files, and at the end of the day, if we have to discover that we've allowed a PDF into office, we have to just accept it as, a mistake that we made. We didn't see through it. Some of us did, some of us didn't. But the important part is that most of us at this point now can sit down and agree that there's likely something that needs to be addressed. And there's no way in the world that presidential immunity or anything under God should be able to allow you to walk away from something like this. We have to make sure that we have to set examples. Make sure that you keep this conversation going, right? This channel's done. We're going to do our part. We're not just going to cover it every day, but we're going to cover it where it matters. And we're going to talk about, why it's not okay to just allow the next news cycle to distract you or take your attention away. That's been the trick, right? And he's showing his hand, right? Because he's throwing everything at the wall to try to get us to not focus on this. And everything he's using are things to divide us and turn us against each other. So look at that as well. Then you'll if you've never recognized it before, you'll recognize what politics is. You'll recognize exactly what it is. None of them want us to unify on either side. But we're doing this for the kids. So with that being said, is anybody having anything to say out there? This should make you upset. This makes me upset. And when I did the first video 4 months ago, no one was really talking about it, right? Even though people had ideas, it wasn't being talked about. We did the video on this channel 4 months ago. Some people didn't react well to it. Some people, were holding their political affiliation over what the real implications were to what was actually going on. I think that's changed, which is why I brought that other video back out. And then now we've done this one. So we have two. So if you missed the first one, I recommend you go back and watch the first one. We cover the contact list. We cover a lot of things there. And this will be a little package. We'll do another one here soon. Here we go. Kurt M. Don't care about Trump anymore. Care about the American people and how they interpret what was going on. It's like flat earth people. I understand that. 100%. The big dog. That's right, kitty catty whack. Dev from Sac, but I still don't believe he's a pedo. I think he's inappropriate in his humor. I think this girl is lying that we saw the video of. Yeah, that could be possible, but you got to ask yourself, why is he hiding the files? Why won't he just let them come out? T-Bone, unexpected but great. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Miss Catherine Jones, I see you out there. They're from Sac. The women's pageant is all legal age of women, adults. No, it's not true. Definitely not true. They're not. Some, yes. They're the one we just saw, the Look of the Year pageant. Those kids were anywhere from, I think they said 15, 16 and up, something like that. Underage. Underage. Kurt M. Yet still people think he's a good person. Yeah. Yeah. Some people do, Kurt M. Yeah. Especially talking to Howard Stern, they're always talking mess like that. Howard Stern has done an interview recently because him and Trump are no longer friends anymore. And what he said is that he would bring Donald Trump on because back then, before he had political aspirations, Donald Trump was just an open book. And he would just say what he felt. So if you notice and you go back and listen to those Howard Stern interviews, they drew him into the conversation to talk about that. And Trump exposed himself. If you have anyone in your circle that is making jokes about kids, they probably shouldn't be in your circle. There is no humor. I don't know if you even consider that humor because it's not funny, right? Making jokes about kids being attractive and saying that you would do things to kids isn't humor. Even if that person saying the thing thinks it's humor, they have the problem because they have a misconception of what is morally okay. So it's actually not even humor. It's someone exposing themselves and their thoughts, and it should be concerning. It should be concerning. America doesn't care, bro, so we win. Yeah. T-Bone, thank you for having the balls, Mr. Rob G. Got to do it. It's on my heart, man. If you care about kids, then you're talking about it. If you care about kids, you're talking about it. If you want the people who have violated those children to be held responsible, then you're talking about it and you're staying on top of it. This is where morality comes in. This is morality check. Because this should be no matter what part of the world you're in, no matter what language you speak, you should feel the same way about this. This is a universal, a universal thing here. Doesn't matter where you're from. Anyone touching kids needs to be under the jail. Anyone saying things about kids needs to be discommunicated, disassociated. There's no room for that. If someone came in your home and made a joke like this about your kid, would you laugh with them and just move on? Or would you be super offended? I would hope the answer would be super offended. Gotta protect the kids. Gotta protect the kids. See? And this is where don't allow yourself to get politically twisted. Bill Clinton's been in the conversation since the beginning. But guess what? He'll give you an answer. Donald Trump makes excuses. Now he's lying. He said he was never in there. There's nothing in there. There's nothing to see. Well, the stuff that's in there that's about me is just a lie. Everybody, they made up lies. They set all this up to make me look bad. In what world does that make sense? In what world does that even make sense? And I don't care who's in the files. Everyone in there needs to be taken care of. Everybody. Whether that's a Clinton, whether that's a Trump, whether that's a whoever. Whoever. If you're in there and you partook, you got to go down. There's no other way to put it. And the other part is Trump has accusers, many accusers. I think it's like 27 accusers of sexual assault up to this point. 27. Yeah, he owns so many pageants, and that's not his thing. Pageant owners, anything where there's things that are set up for kids, you have to watch what the intent is for. When you have kids that are pretty much not wearing any clothes at all, well, you might want to look into the adults that are managing that event to see what their interests are. Why pageants? Why girls? Why girls in pageants? Why young girls in pageants? And I want to say the look of the, what was that? The look of the one we just saw, the pageant, those girls were as young as 14 years old. It wasn't 16. Those girls were as young as 14 years old. And I don't know if this is true or not, but saying Biden's, and it doesn't matter. Whoever's molesting, and if you're a molester, you got to go down. I don't care who you are. If you're a molester, if you sympathize with molesters, you got to go down. Deny that he liked looking at attractive women. How was that sick stuff? They were 14. How do we... You're going to call a 14-year-old an attractive woman? And you got to understand who in this chat personally knows Donald Trump. We can only go off of what he's given us, and what he's given us doesn't look good. Yeah, I mean, this could end up being the case. Yeah, we can't technically say it, but I think the world pretty much there's a small minority of people who don't think that he's involved with this. I mean, and it's a small minority. The majority definitely knows, and so you would figure, right? He's throwing all this hatred out there, so your comeback is you want to offend the Native Americans by saying the Washington Redskins should bring their name back and their team back. You want to offend the whole indigenous culture, which is the reason why it was changed in the beginning. And you would rather put it out there that we should change it back to some derogatory, racist sort of thing. Is that okay? Is that okay? You got to go down your morality checklist. Everyone should check the morality checklist and see where you fall, see where you stand, because there's going to be some people on this side, there's going to be some people on the other side, and you just got to figure out where you stand. Deb from Sacramento, appreciate the awesome super chat. What if the information in the files takes down both sides and Republicans in Senate and the House are taken down, undoing everything good he's done? We need that reset. We need the reset. I'm gonna be real with you. I would rather for the reset. I'm looking forward to I hope both sides are on there. I really do. I hope both sides are on there, and I hope everyone gets shamed and we get to tear this whole thing down and start over. That's my dream coming out of this. I hope it definitely goes that way, Deb. I really do. I really hope both sides get taken down. Okay, you were talking about Miss America pageant. All right, I didn't know that. I was talking about the pageant we watched on here, the one that we were reviewing. No. This has changed. I don't know if you've watched the news lately. Actually, I disagree. There's a huge majority that doesn't believe Trump is a pedo. In fact, they elected him. No. Have you checked Yeah. Check MAGA World right now. Go into those MAGA chats, MAGA groups. I don't know where to find them, but they're out there. But those MAGA groups, yeah, they're not happy. They're not happy. They're not happy at all. And they're all questioning this guy. They're questioning this president. Yep, we need a reset. No more wars for profit. Exactly. We need to that's why it's so important. First of all, it's important that we find out who's touching the kids, because one thing that's for certain, as long as this system, and when I say system, meaning the global system, stays as is, as long as we have poor regions of the world, you're always going to have vulnerabilities in the youth. And this is going to be something that never ends until we figure out a way to stop it. And this is probably the closest that you'll ever get, with all the mistakes that have been made in this little ring that they've had, and all the mistakes are allowing this to come to light. This usually, all they're going to try to do, if we move on to the next subject, they're going to figure out a different place to do it. They're going to figure out a more tighter way to keep this going, right? And that's the problem. That's why we can't stop. Now, you're not banned here, Bob Gray. So, with that being said, like I said, like the guy or not like the guy, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Regardless who you thought it was, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it is a duck. So this is where we'll go ahead and get ready to wrap this one up, because I just want to make sure we touch that. Talking to kids that are way underage, saying I'm going to be dating you in 10 years. Ridiculous. Whether you believe this woman or not, she still has a story and testimony to give. Grabbing on your child like this is very strange and weird. And that just, there's nothing that can change my mind on that. That is just very creepy, creepy at the very least. That's creepy. This is unreasonable, and should never have taken place. Very bad taste at the least. Doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. And you got to remember, it's all part of this crew right here. And guess what? The two people on the right, convicted of doing things to kids. Best friends with the two people on the left. The person on the far left has been caught in really weird situations when it comes to children. 15 years best friends with the guy who was definitely trafficking children. Where there's smoke, there's fire, and I hope we'll get down to the bottom of this. So with that being said, guys, awesome stuff. We'll end this one here. Exposed. The Epstein and Trump files. Save our kids, not PDFs. You have no loyalty to these politicians out here. They don't care about you. These politicians wouldn't spit on you if you were on fire. They don't care about what you think. So there's no reason to defend these people unless they are your relatives and you really know these individuals. There isn't a world where a politician should be praised or even looked at as a person that wouldn't do something wrong, because that's usually what they're always caught in scandals. Let's start in the beginning of politics. We can have a show on that alone and talk about all the different scandals different politicians have been caught in over the years. They don't care. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. And apparently, some of them don't care about your kids, my kids, or their own kids. So with that being said, guys, let me go ahead and say what's up to everybody out there, our members who make sure that this thing continues to happen. We got T-Bone, the Beekeeper, D. Nunley, Maggie M10, Flat 6, Miss Catherine Jones, Leanne Bridges, Polly Rotterman, Lil Cam 51, Fast Timmy, Deb from Sacramento, Race Fan, Magneticus, Woo Riders DG, Area 51, Tomart Man, Crave Dog, Paramore, Joey Monk, Rory, Rockin' Rory, KAS, Wes W. Decker, and Joanne, the Emperor Penguin, Dead Fish Cheese Spread, Amanda's Crazy Life Channel, Mike Bothwell, Kitty Catty Whack. Appreciate you guys coming on out tonight. We're going to be doing this again. We'll have a call-in show coming up soon. So because of that, you might want to put the number in your phone, 856-843-3444, or that's 856-THE-DIGG if you're outside the United States. Dial 001 first, then 856-843-3444, or that's 001-856-THE-DIGG. Has been great hanging out with you guys tonight. We're going to go ahead and get ready to shut this thing down. If you have anything left to say here, I'll go ahead and check the chat as I do get ready to get us up out of here. All right, yeah, no UFOs here today. Not for this show, not for this particular show, Bob Gray. We are touching social issues, things to move the needle, and today it just happens to be the kids. We're saving the kids. Saving the kids. I like that. T-Bone likes that too. Philip Blair. I like Ron Paul sometimes on the R side. Okay, you guys get into politics. That's cool. You guys could do that out there as long as you don't get disrespectful with it. And Deb from Sac, great show, Rob G. Appreciate you. This needs to be addressed. Truth always rises to the top. And that's what I love And I really hope that ends up being the case here. Anything less than that would be a failure, and I would be just devastated. So let's keep the foot on their necks here. Deb from Sac, All About Truth. Bob Gray said, Rob G. Amanda's Crazy Life channel, see you out there. Also, Hillbilly Her, we are shining the light. We'll continue to do it, as unpopular as it may be. So yeah, I may lose a few subscribers behind having these conversations, but guess what? That means you weren't up to have the real conversation. Can't feel sorry for someone that wants to step away. So times is like that. With that mean, you guys have a great rest of your night. We love our country. We love our country. As flawed as it is, we have a chance to make it that much better. A chance to really be who we thought we were as far as America. You talking about making America great again? We've never been great. We've never been great, and it's because of the things we're going through right now and the hate that we allow to be sowed between us. F politics, man. F politics. Let's shake this thing up. We're gonna do that. Future shows. Once again, thanks for coming on out. My name is Mr. Rob G. This is The Social Dig. Exposed edition. We'll be talking again soon, guys. Thanks for coming. Talk soon. Take care. Welcome to The Social Shop, courtesy of The Social Dig. I am Mr. Rob G, and we are bringing you exclusive gear, and tonight's no different. We have humanity t-shirts, the positive progression of humanity. Yes, you can go out into the world and proudly show everyone what humanity means to you. $32.99. And remember, if you're a social soldier, you get an additional 20% off the price. That's right. Being a social soldier gets you an additional 20% off. And keep in mind, depending where you are in the world, shipping fees and taxes will be applied. Bringing you exclusive gear right here at The Social Shop on The Social Dig.